Well, that sure was one of the championships I've ever seen. I, mm, 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 mm. I just don't. It's wild to me how so many of the regular season games were genuinely really fun and interesting. And then as soon as we get to the playoffs, it feels like everybody just plays worse. Just worse. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe it's the lack of a bye week. I don't know. Or maybe it's just that these players are not very good by comparison to the NFL. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that championship was incredibly sloppy. There's no other way to put it. The Stallions, at the very least, got better, tightened things up, won the game. The Brahmas, one of the most pathetic performances I've ever seen, especially after last week and a few weeks ago when they beat the Birmingham Stallions, gave them their only loss all season. To then put on a show like that, it's pathetic. Anyway, let's get into it. I have a lot of thoughts. So, game begins. Garbers is already sliding very early for San Antonio. Let's put a pin in that for now. Birmingham stopping McFarland effectively. They punt. Near interception for Martinez for Birmingham. They punt. McFarland again gets nothing. Birmingham gets the ball back. The defenses are relentless on both sides. And then Birmingham punts. Garbers goes out of bounds too early. Are you noticing a trend? And a delay of game turns a 3rd and 1 into a 3rd and 6. McFarland bails them out. Quarter 2, Kirkland fumbles, but San Antonio recovers. Stevenson with a great run after a catch, and tipped and incomplete on 3rd. Burns could have intercepted for Birmingham, but instead, they will settle for forcing the punt. Birmingham gets the ball back. Martinez runs and takes a big hit, almost gets a first down. Their drive stalls, they punt. Kirkland nearly hauls one in on 3rd down, drops it, going back down to the ground. Birmingham gets the ball back. Martinez runs for a first. Near disastrous sideways pass fumbled. It looks like it's going to be a Brahmas touchdown. Luckily, on replay review, they determined that Martinez threw it just forward, just barely, and it was an incomplete pass rather than a fumbled lateral. So, Birmingham gets bailed out. Sternberger fights for the first. Marlon Williams with a big gain, and then he tries to hurdle and fumbles it to San Antonio. McFarland with nearly a first, but Mack cannot convert. San Antonio punts. Person Jr. runs for a first, and then Person with a 44-yard run, the biggest run up to that point for either offense, and then a needless defensive pass interference on an uncatchable ball gives Birmingham a big boost. Completely unnecessary, shoving a guy, not keeping track of the ball. It's hard being a cornerback or a safety. Being a defensive back is possibly the hardest position in football. But it was flagrant. It was, you can't do that. Jennings with a touchdown. First score of the day, and Rogers goes in for 2, so Birmingham is up 8-0. All right, fine. Nothing insurmountable. Turner cuts infield instead of out of bounds to stop the clock for the Brahmas, and then he fumbles it, and Birmingham tries to return it for a score, but thankfully the Brahmas are able to stop it. So that's our first half. Are you enjoying yourself yet? Are you having fun? I know it sounds like a lot of fun. Hold on to your horses. The second half is even better. Birmingham starts with the ball. Deion Kane fights for a first. Rogers for a first. Person for a first. Williams gets 8. Martinez rushes for a first. Martinez rushes for a touchdown. Now the Stallions are working. They are getting momentum. They are using it effectively. Thomas with a one-handed catch for 2. Birmingham now leads 16-0. The Brahmas need to get something started, and they need to get it now. Kirkland fumbles, and it's Bird turnover. And that's their response. Great. Good one, San Antonio. Nice one. Jennings leaps over a man for a first. C.J. Marable leaps for a first. Person stuffed on a goal line dive. On 4th down, Martinez sneaks it, barely breaks the plane for a touchdown, but no 2-point conversion. So the Stallions now lead 22-0. The Brahmas are in a tailspin. They need something to happen. McFarland rushes for a first. Ball batted down by Birmingham. Could have been picked. They have to punt. Martinez with a dangerous home run ball that mercifully falls incomplete after a bounce. And low pass to Sternberger only nets a few yards. Birmingham has to punt. Okay, Brahmas have another shot. McFarland nearly converts on 2nd and 14. He gets 13 yards. Great run. Garbers has an easy run for first down on 3rd and 1. And he slides a yard short. It's inexcusable. The theory I've been hearing is that he has tryouts with the NFL, and he doesn't want to hurt himself. On the one hand, fair, I get it. But on the other hand, if that's going to hinder your play, and you know it, let Quentin Dormady get in there. Do not take that spot away only to just half-ass it the entire game, which is what he's been doing. That's what Garbers did all day. Half-assed it. Because, we'll get to this later, but Quentin Dormady takes over for him in the 4th quarter, and you can tell Dormady was not perfect by any means, not even close. But he wanted to win. He was trying. He was putting himself on the line. Garbers never did that. And I understand not wanting to get injured, but respectfully, this is football. This is a sport where you're going to put yourself in harm's way. You are going to be at risk of injury every single play. That is the name of the game. And if you don't want to do that, fine, I understand. But don't play football. Do something else. Play a different sport. Go play flag. Flag is perfectly respectable. Don't come into a tackle football league and then always be scared of getting tackled. You're in a championship game, and you're going to slide a yard short. Inexcusable. Indefensible. And you could tell the Brahmas were pissed. And I would say completely reasonably so. The defense were furious. Because they're putting themselves in harm's way every play. They're doing everything they can to create opportunities. And Garbers just throws it down the trash like that. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And then Mack is stomped on 4th and 1, turnover. And that's the drive. And really, realistically, the game. Martinez immediately rushes for a first. Incomplete by Rodgers, but San Antonio has 12 on defense when Birmingham tries to kick the field goal, so Birmingham gets a fresh set of downs. Martinez overthrows Sternberger. Sternberger shoves Nelson, draws a penalty, which sets them way back. 3rd and 10 becomes 3rd and 25. Sternberger making reckless decisions. Thankfully, Jordan Thomas is able to get 15 yards to make Blewett's kick that much easier, and Blewett nails a 49-yard field goal to give them a 25-0 lead. So, technically, a 3-score game, but the Brahmas need a spark, and they need it yesterday. It is getting incredibly dire. So now, Chase Garbers is benched, and Quentin Dormady, the backup quarterback, is put out. Dormady with a great throw on 3rd and 10 for a first. They're moving. Turner trips just short of a first. Dormady scrambles, throws to Stevenson, who fights for a first. Calvin Turner fights for a first. Dormady escapes pressure and trips over his own foot for an enormous sack. 2nd and 5 gradually becomes 4th and 19. But Dormady escapes pressure, rolls to the right, throws a beautiful pass to Cannon, who drops it. He just can't secure it. It's too high. But he tried. Dormady tried, damn it. And you could tell he wanted it so badly. Which is just a feeling I did not get from Garbers. And I wish Dormady had gotten to start all day, because I wonder how different the game would have been had he been there the whole time. You could tell he wanted it bad. He was hungry for it. But that is the last Brahmas drive. Marable rushes for a first. Sternberger and Thompson needlessly fight. Both get ejected from the game, so Sternberger doesn't get to be on the field for the trophy ceremony. Just stupid. Just stupid. Your team is about to win their 3rd championship in a row, and you do shit like that? Ridiculous. But Birmingham holds on, and they kneel out the game. And that's our championship. The Brahmas just... it's inexcusable. I don't know what else to say. For that team that beat the Stallions in the regular season, for the team that beat the Battlehawks, or let the Battlehawks beat themselves, to just have no answer to anything the Stallions are doing. And granted, the Brahmas' defense was stellar. They did everything they could. They gave the Brahmas so many opportunities, but their offense just could not do anything. And in a championship, that just looks sad. And it did look sad. The Stallions, meanwhile, Martinez looked great as usual. Granted, they had some trouble in the first quarter. Took them a while to get going, but their defense was insane all day. And eventually, Martinez adjusted. The whole team adjusted. And they were able to start scoring, and especially around the 3rd quarter, really get going. And at that point, there was no stopping them. So that's our championship. Yeah. Needless to say, I was not thrilled. Rather, I was quite disappointed by how this game turned out. But there's never a guarantee that these things are going to be interesting. It's just a shame that the championship game, the game that could have pulled in a lot of new fans, just was kind of just boring. It was boring. My parents were watching with me, and they were both getting really bored. And I can't fault them for that. It was not an interesting game. And it just sucks. I especially feel bad for Wade Phillips, who got this team to a championship just a year out from the Brahmas being the laughing stock of the league. Granted, this is the people who were the Roughnecks last year, but that notwithstanding, it's remarkable what he's been able to do with this team, with, so many different starting quarterbacks. So for them to just fold so easily like that, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer. Now, regarding the season as a whole, I would say it's a 6.5 out of 10, let's say. I think it started really strong with a lot of really fun matchups, some great comebacks, some great unexpected surprises, and I think near the end of the regular season it really petered out. And then especially in the playoffs, it just slowed to a crawl, which is a shame, because I think there's some real fun to be had with these teams. We saw that in the first half of the season. The atmospheres were electric. The Renegades pulling off their first win, the Defenders pulling off a comeback against the Renegades, the Brahmas with their comeback against the Showboats, all these great games. The Panthers, the 64-yard field goal to win the game against the Battlehawks. Week 1, so many fun, exciting, electric moments. And there just aren't as many to speak of in this latter half of the season. I think if this season had ended week 6, it'd be like a 9 out of 10. The rest of the season really drags it down. It's, 6.5, maybe a 7, if I'm being really generous. But the fact is, the Showboats and the Roughnecks were completely non-competitive, especially in the latter half of the season. The Showboats, I understand. They had a lot of injuries. Their O-line was atrocious. They just couldn't get going. And I think John DeFilippo is a better coach than I've been giving him credit for. He especially seems really good at motivating his players. They just need better offensive line help. The Roughnecks have no excuse. The Roughnecks are laughably bad. The Renegades, I think they just had a rough year. I don't think the team is as bad as their record would indicate. I'm hoping they'll be able to turn it around next year. The Defenders, just mired in mediocrity. I did not enjoy watching the Defenders very much. They were not interesting to watch. Doesn't help that they have Bountygate himself, Greg Williams, as their defensive coordinator. Hopefully he'll be gone, but somehow I doubt it. The top four, meanwhile, the Battlehawks. Listen, I like Anthony Becht. He seems like a good dude. I'm not confident that he's going to be the guy to get them to the promised land. And that's how I feel. That's truly how I feel about it. The Brahmas, I think they are inches away. I do. I think they've got a lot of really great pieces. I think they need to figure out quarterback. And then they really, really, really have a fighting chance. The Panthers, I have no idea how to feel about the Panthers. They were a weird team that was kind of all over the place. I mean, they were competitive most of the season. I think E.J. Perry getting injured and then Bryce Perkins getting injured really, really hurt them. I don't think they're awful. I think they were shooting themselves in the foot near the end of the season frequently. And I would like to see them improve on that front. But I also understand why their coach won Coach of the Year, for being able to turn a team that won 3 games last year into a team that makes the conference championship. That's a remarkable turnaround, and I do not want to diminish that. I just want to see more. A little bit more. I want to see them tighten things up. The Stallions, meanwhile, they had their moments of getting in their own way, their hiccups, especially in the conference championship. But I mean, they're the champions for a reason. This was their year. They just ran the table on just about everybody. It was magic. It was incredible to watch them play. Every single game, no matter how far back they were, you did not count out the Stallions. And we saw that come full circle in the USFL Championship, because they were down 18-3 and won at 31-18. I mean, they've just got it. Whatever it is, they have it. They have that spark, that fire. That means you can never, no lead is too big for them to come back from. And I just think they're fun to watch. If any team had to win this year, I'm glad it was them. They deserved it. They were solid all season, minus the championship game. For next year, people have been talking a lot about expansion, right? Because there are a lot of teams that got cut from both leagues as part of the merger. Seattle Sea Dragons, the New Orleans Breakers, the Pittsburgh Maulers, Philadelphia Stars. But I think it's too early. I do. And I hate to say that, because I would love to see more teams. But I think the league needs to establish itself first. We need some sort of consistency. People need to know what to expect from this league before they start to expand. Because if you start expanding before people are used to it, people are going to get overwhelmed, and I think the league is going to spread itself much too thin. And that would be a recipe for disaster. So I kind of hope we stick with these 8 teams, perhaps reshuffle some things. Probably there'll be some coaches getting fired, some other coaches getting moved from place to place. I'm excited. I'm optimistic about their chances for a year or two. Now, granted, there's a lot that can happen between one season and another. I mean, the AAF is evidence enough of that. There's never a guarantee that this league is going to exist next year. But God, I hope it does. Because while there were lows, the highs were so fun. It was such gritty football. You could tell everybody on every team just wanted to prove themselves, just wanted to play. They were doing it for the love of the game. And that's what made it so exciting to watch. I really enjoyed watching it because you could tell everybody there had a chip on their shoulder in some way. And they wanted to prove that they deserved a shot to play football. And for me, that's what this league represents. That when this league is at its best, it is a chance for young upstarts, scrappy guys to prove themselves. And when they do, it's beautiful. It is a thing of beauty. So I hope this league continues to exist. And I hope we get another season next year. But thank you for sticking with me through all these recaps. Thank you for sticking with me through the season. Hope you all have enjoyed the UFL's inaugural season with me. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I have a Discord server in the description where I post my stream and upload schedules. I also have a Twitter, a TikTok, and an Instagram you can follow. I have a WordPress blog. I have an Etsy shop where I sell little polymer clay figurines. I also have my SCP Wiki author page if you want to read any of my SCP articles. Yeah, thanks for watching. Now we wait for the NFL. Enjoy the rest of this summer before that all gets going. Hope you all have a good weekend, and see you around.